So I got this call the other day from a business owner who was making about $300,000 a year, and he had a question for me. And I thought it was a really interesting question and a very important one. And so I figured if he had that question, other people may have it too, and I might as well just make a video about it. And so his question was, hey Brian, in your 10 years of experience in building a multi-unit, multi-brand franchise empire, doing $50 million a year, I would love your advice. I am stuck in kind of this franchise. I'm doing about 1.5 million a year in revenue. I'm making about 300,000 to 400,000 a year. And what I'd like to know is, do you think I should stay in this brand and like double down and keep growing, or do I look to kind of trade up and get maybe to a new opportunity, maybe diversify into other brands and go from there? And so this is a super important question. It's something that I think a lot of people struggle with, is this question of, do I continue to grow what I have, or is the grass greener? Do I look to get into something new? And so here's what I told him. In a franchise business, which he's in and I'm in, the entire point of a franchise is to rinse and repeat. It's to copy and paste. And that it takes a lot of work to learn the business model, to perfect the business model. But once you have it down, to the ability to go from like 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to over 30, 40 locations is what I have today, it becomes a lot easier because you start to build a muscle. And as you build that muscle, it just gets stronger and stronger. And in a lot of ways, the business gets easier. I mean, even in my business today, we do about 50 million in the auto repair business. And we could do an acquisition that could get us to 75 million or even 100 million in the next 24 months. And like, my life wouldn't really change tremendously from what I'm already doing today. Like, we already have a great leadership team. We already have all the systems in place. Like, yes, things will break, and yes, we'll have to rebuild them, but it's not astronomically different. And that's the thing about franchises. They're designed to be scalable. It's designed that you can just continue to grow it and grow it. And so that was my recommendation to him, was saying, listen, like, you should double down on the business. You're already doing pretty good, and franchisees love to sell to other franchisees. It's easier, it's quicker. There's a lot of value that an outsider may not see that an existing franchisee would see in acquiring it. Maybe there's synergies, maybe there's customers, maybe there's cost savings, maybe they can gain more leverage with a franchisor, or get into a really desirable territory and block other people out, or work with some big, large national accounts so they can service all of them. Like, there's a ton of synergies in growing your existing footprint. And so because of that, franchisees want to sell to franchisees. It's like selling to a friend. And the other part of that is that relationship also leads to some really crazy deals. Like, we have done a number of seller financing deals buying existing franchises from people who I knew and they trusted me and all that stuff, where we bought one for $50,000 down that the next year we made $400,000. I did another deal where we put $50,000 down on a business making $600,000 a year, because that's all the seller wanted. That's all he wanted, was $50,000 down, because he wanted the monthly payment. He wanted 15 grand a month or whatever we're paying him for the next 10 years, whatever the math is. That's what he cared about. He cared about cash flow. He didn't care about getting a huge check and paying a bunch of taxes and all this stuff. And anyway, I can make a whole other video on seller financing. It's not the point here. But the idea is that once you get your foot in the door of a franchise and once you start to build relationships, which this guy is doing, then growth just becomes so much easier. And a lot of that is because as you grow the business, you're able to have more payroll dollars available to hire better and better quality people. And then those people can then start taking more and more operational problems off of your plate as the owner, which allows you then to focus on growth and, going on vacation and golfing and doing whatever you want to do, because your phone's not blowing up all day with operational issues. Now, you still have to do work. You still have to take on, major risk and expansion and personally guaranteeing debt and all these things. Just the problems that you start to solve become bigger and bigger, and they're also less time consuming. So you make fewer bets, but much larger bets that have much, more severe consequences. But the time and how you make those is much more flexible. You can do those in the early morning or late at night. And so the point is, as you grow the business, you have more people, you get more freedom to live the life that you want to live. And that's the whole point, right? Like, you're buying a business because you want freedom, not because you want to be chained to a desk all day. And so On the flip side, if you say, hey, I have got this business making whatever, 300 grand a year, and I want to just like leave it as is and start up another one to make another 300K a year, right? Now, starting from zero takes a ton of work. Whether it's an independent business or franchise, doesn't really matter. It still takes a lot of work to get the thing off the ground. You got to hire people, you got to train them, you got to build the relationships, like you got to build out the building, like whatever it is, it still takes a bunch of work. And often, it still takes a bunch of work. And often you as the owner, as the franchisee, in his case, are the ones like in the weeds, learning the business, wearing every hat, like doing all the things. And so now he goes from somebody who has maybe a little bit of freedom, he's got a team, like everything's going pretty good, to launching something new. He's like back to level one in learning the business from the ground up. And then now his phone's blowing up for the one business, now his phone's blowing up for the second business. And then it's kind of hard to get any leader in charge of both of them because there's so many little intricacies and stuff that it's just like, it's hard to do. And so like my recommendation is only get into other brands when you have the payroll budgets and the ability to hire an excellent leader with day one, where you can partner with somebody who has equity in that person. It's their business and they're going to eat, sleep, and breathe that thing. And then you come in as a capital partner, as an investor, as a strategist, as somebody who'd help with like administrative functions, right? Like there are ways that you can do it if you want to expand into multiple brands, but it can't rely on you, because the more things that you get into, the more your focus gets diluted. And when you have dilution, you're not going to make as much as if you were 100% concentrated on one thing. You know, Warren Buffett has this quote that concentration is how you build wealth and diversification is how you maintain wealth. And I think a lot of people get that confused because they see Warren Buffett, they see all these rich guys who are like, oh, he owns 100 different businesses or whatever, and I'm going to have this holdco. But like, that's Warren Buffett, who's like 100 years old version, not the Warren Buffett who in the early days was grinding it out and like sleeping on the factory floor and like literally writing newspaper titles for the Buffalo News. And like, you hear all these crazy stories. Like, he was a grinder, and eventually he built the business so big that, you know, the only way they could deploy their money was by buying big companies that had really good leaders in place. But for me, for you, for people who are in this like growth mode, for young Warren, like that's not the game. Like, we got to be in it. And so I don't know, it's just so much easier to grow the thing you already got than to diversify into something new. And so that was my recommendation to him. And the other factor is like, would you be a good franchisee, right? Or should I buy it? The other question he had was, should I continue to be a franchisee or should I look to start my own business? Now, this is a big one because franchisees are business owners. Like, I own a business that just happens to be a franchise. But like every single day I wake up and I am focused on growing my business. I am trying to grow sales. I'm trying to improve my people. I'm trying to acquire other locations to continue to grow. I deal with financing and marketing. I deal with all the same things. I just happen to have a support system. I have a brand. I've got partners. I've got fellow franchisees all over the country who are in my support network. And so if you're the kind of person who likes to tinker and likes to take things from 0 to 1 and you want to develop every single thing and the branding and the marketing, and like you all love that stuff, like then buying a franchise is probably like a terrible idea for you. But if you're someone that says, I don't really care about the brand, like I don't need to be on Forbes magazine or like whatever, I just want to make money, and just like, if you hand me the playbook and tell me what to do, like I will go and do it. If that's you, if you're like me and like my friend, it sounds like too, like then franchising might be a really good option because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to invent anything. All you have to do is be able to execute the playbook. And once you can build that skill set of executing the playbook, then that's when but if you can become really good at executing the playbook, it just becomes like copy and paste. And I know I'm simplifying it a little bit, and you know, I don't want to make it sound easy, but in a lot of ways, that's what it is, where you're able to open up more locations, you hire great people, and then you hold them accountable for the results that you want to see. And you get them trained. And if they're not producing, you find new people. Like, same in any other business. We just happen to have a playbook and a system to follow. And so anyway, I hope this was useful. If it was, I read a newsletter every week. I write multiple times a week, sharing insights into growing and scaling an 8-figure business. And if you want to learn more about what it takes to do so, click that subscribe button below to this channel and hop onto my newsletter. I share tons of insights there. So I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.